Welcome in. This is a new episode with the Critics Collective. I'm the Dad Panther, variety streamer, content creator, master of none, and I'm with Mayte today, and we are talking The Last of Us. But this is interesting because we're doing a reaction video of season 2, episode 2, and just let you know there are going to be spoilers with this. It's called Through the Valley. This is one of the epic moments of the series, of the franchise. And so I just want to let you know while you take off and leave. Normally I would say try us 3 minutes, then let us know in the comments what we should be watching or what you're watching. But hit the subscribe button, like, follow, and share for all that stuff. And let's get into it. So we're gonna go with the first impressions. I mean, did you play the game at all?
No, I did not play the game, unfortunately.
You
I
know how to, you know
did.
how to say unfortunately. You kind of
I mean,
smile
I
like
do
it's
want to
bad.
play.
Like,
I do want
uh-huh.
to play the game.
Mhm.
Um, Even hearing stuff about it, I'm like, okay, it's very interesting. So I'm very blind as to everything that's happening in this whole series. I'm just
Mhm.
taking it as it comes. So,
Okay. All right. Well, so for me, I played the game, and my first impression kind of what it is it's so cool to allow or not allow. I'm not controlling this, but it's cool to see people who've played the game who haven't played the game experience this franchise and experience this moment.
mhm.
Um, I was talking to people who they just hear the scene, and we'll get into the scene with the golf club.
Ugh.
And I remember hearing, like, I'm watching it for like the third time, and someone was like, "Are you watching the episode of?" And I'm like, "You watched the show?" And like, "Yeah." And it was somebody who caught me off guard. I didn't think the person watched it, and I'm like, "Did you play the game?" And like, "No, I didn't play the game." And I'm like, "So how did you know what was gonna happen?" Because they were talking about like as if
I
they
was one
knew
of
it. I'm
those
like,
people.
and they were like, social media got me. I saw videos comparing the video game, and I'm like,
hmm
but you're spoiling it. If you're not gonna play the game, you're spoiling it. So for you, you said that was you. So how did you kind of hear about this episode? Your anticipation of it?
So I honestly, luckily for me, I was able to escape major spoilers. I just knew something was coming, and I knew they were gonna kill off Pedro. As far as Joel, his character, I knew they were gonna kill him off. Like that's been since like season one. They knew it was gonna come eventually. So now, as far as how it was gonna happen, I had no idea whatsoever. And yeah, with that, I mean, it was very interesting. I didn't have any spoilers as to like how brutal it was gonna be. And so that I was just more excited to see how it was gonna happen. Uh, I feel like maybe a little bit because I knew that was gonna happen, he was gonna die. I feel like I mean, I still cried, so it still hit me. But I feel
Hmm.
like if like watching, for example, like Game of Thrones, like where I mean, I didn't read the book, so I didn't like. I'm just saying, like, as far as like those were completely blind to me. I didn't have any knowledge of what would happen at all. Versus
Hmm.
this, I knew something was happening. Versus like maybe if I didn't know anything was happening at all, I probably would have hit even harder. But I feel like I was a little prepared for it.
No, and it's cool because if you didn't play the game, it just shows that they were able to create a connection of a character that when that character passed away, you felt it. And I'm slightly taking a dig at DC Superman. You can't just kill off a character that nobody cares about. That's why when Iron Man passed on, everyone was like hurt in the theater. Now it was interesting that you said Game of Thrones, and we won't dwell on it long, but put in the comments. But this was similar to Sinners, and go check our discussion on Sinners. This actually they pulled from a very popular episode, I think, in the 5th season of Game of Thrones, dealing with the mountain, the ice, death,
Hmm
daywalkers, or not daywalkers, but basically that whole thing, zombies on the ice. And so if you're
The White
watching it, you're like,
Walkers.
yes. And I said daywalkers. I'm thinking about
I was
vampires
trying
and
to think of it. I
blaze
was
and
like, it's
shit.
not Night Walkers.
Yeah.
Like, I'm pretty sure there were White Walkers.
Yeah, yeah. I didn't know if I was
I
being
think I
racial or
could still
something
be
like that. I'm like,
wrong.
did I just wait? Let us know in the comments what it is. I don't know if it's if we just created a DEI for zombies. I don't know, but if you were sitting there watching that episode and you're like, "This seems familiar," it's Game of Thrones. They were hinting at and taking nods to. Now, we'll go into the first act of it. Now, how this episode opens up is you basically see the main character, Abby. I believe who's in this corridor, and you don't know what this corridor is, and you see that she's having this conversation with herself, and herself is telling herself, think about that, herself is telling herself, don't go in there, don't look in there. And it was just an interesting perspective. Did that do anything? Did that throw you? Some people are like, they didn't get the scene, other people enjoyed kind of opening it that way. What was your thoughts on the
I feel
corridor?
like I gotta rewatch it because I feel like that completely went over my head. I feel like I was just so like I feel like if I might get, I don't know. I mean, she's already getting enough hate, so I'm not gonna get canceled for saying this. But in my head, I was like, "Who is this bitch? Like, what's going on? Who is
You
that? Like, who is this
listen,
girl? Like,
and and
can I
and
see
they
Joel and Ellie? Like, can who? Can she
and I
like get
think
off?"
that's what it was for the people who kind
Mm-hmm.
of know what the moment is, whether they're gamers or they're
Mm.
not. They were like, "Move this bitch out of the way! Isn't this the one
Yeah,
that like we wanted the muscular one? You know what I'm saying? And
I
you
was
gave us
hearing a
this
lot of
one."
that.
Now, for someone who's played the game, I didn't care either way. Like I'm not one of those
Mm-hmm.
that looks at something, whether it's in the comics or the first movie or the first guy who played it. Someone else can play this character.
Mm-hmm.
You as long as you're acting, as long as there's a connection to what they're trying to do, you can play it in a different
Mm-hmm.
incarnation of that artist. So I didn't care that it didn't look like the same person you thought. Like grow the fuck
Mm-hmm.
up and move on.
I
But I
agree.
so many people I talked to, and they had no clue about that scene. They're like,
I
"What do you
gotta
mean?
rewatch it.
You mean the intro?" I'm like, "No, it's past the intro. There was some shit that popped off,
Oh wait, it
and
was past
it's
the intro. I thought it was the intro.
see." But people said
See?
that, and I thought they
I,
were joking. I'm like, first of all, the intro shows the not the spores, but the connections, the tubes or the tunnels
okay, I
that the
remember
spore
that.
does, and that's their thing that's different because the game has spores. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so the game basically the spores is what transfers the virus.
Mm-hmm.
In this, it's this weird connection tubing that makes a hive similar to Sinners, where you have this mega hive that connects, and that becomes a different thing. But no, it was an actual part of the the episode. So
I gotta rewatch the beginning.
so fine. So maybe for you, the episode starts 7 minutes in,
Mm-hmm.
where they're in this resort and they have the panoramic view of the mountain. See, she was like, she went and got a
Yeah.
drink, got some popcorn. She's like, fuck all that other and
Fuck
so
that girl.
you're watching these characters who seem like they're in this dilemma, right? Where obviously Abby wants to do this. She's about this shit. She's looking for Joel. In the last episode, we now know he's on this city, and they're like, I don't think we can attack the city. They got all this. They got
Mm-hmm.
this, and she's like, we about to do this shit. And I don't know. I felt some type of way because I'm like, why are they listening to this person? You
Yeah.
outnumber her.
This little girl compared to like there's two like I don't know, I was getting so loud. There was two guys part of her group that I'm like they could have easily like not saying let me not get canceled. Not saying guys should take charge and stuff in situations like this. In most cases they do. It's nice to see a woman in charge, but she was like her attitude with it was like, girls, like you guys should treat everybody like a little better in the group versus like
Hmm.
being like I know you want to avenge your father, I get that,
Hmm.
but it's like you also have to be a little realistic. Like what she was gonna imagine. I honestly, I wish she would have went in there with that group. And what would have happened?
Hmm.
Like maybe she would have like finessed her way. Oh, we need help. Like, get gain their trust and maybe draw it out a little bit more. But part of me, well, let's not skip back. Let's not skip the acts. But
But I just thought of it as like, yeah, there was another guy that was there
hmm
who was on her side, so she wasn't alone in the
yeah,
aggressive tone that she had. But
hmm
you can see one of the guys was kind of wavering, and he even said he
hmm
was like, "What I'm trying to do is I don't have a plan. I'm hoping I can talk some sense into her."
Yeah.
as she, takes off and goes outside. So at some point she's out in the elements. She has the gun and she's bracing the cold wind that's coming because there's a storm coming. Winter's coming.
Mm-hmm.
And people were saying online, like, why does she keep going like with her face? She kept doing that. Like eventually you're gonna go back and watch the episode apparently. But when you
Nah,
go
I
back,
gotta, yeah.
when you watch it, she's doing a lot of face reactions. And I thought that was
Mm-hmm.
a cool Easter egg nod to the game. The game's
Mm-hmm.
character does a lot of that because in the game, they're trying to show at the time the technology is just it's amazing to watch this detail, but the video game was
Mm-hmm.
trying to show how cold it was. So there's certain parts you would walk, and if her face made a reaction, you
Oh, I
knew
did
it was
notice
too
that.
cold. And
Yeah,
so people are like, yo, is she on crack? Like, is she licking her gums? Like, is she grinding her teeth?
it's
No,
just cold.
I thought they were just doing a great job showing how cold it was with nodding to the video game.
Mm-hmm.
And so she goes out on this journey, and as she's on this journey, um, it switches back to Jackson, which is a small little area that they're at. And as
Mm-hmm.
they're sitting there at Jackson, you get the guy who knocks on the door to say, "Hey, Ellie, you're late. You're supposed to be at watch at 8 o'clock." But I just heard last night you kissed a girl. Like he goes back and forth on this kind of chilling, like I'm just playing. I don't care.
Mm-hmm.
But it's still fucked up. What did you
Mm-hmm.
think about their chemistry and kind of how that scene picks off their morning right before they're getting ready to go watch for zombies?
I mean, I feel like it just shows a little bit of the relationship that they have, that budding friendship, but also maybe more kind of giving away more of his personality too, because he, like you said, like he kept addressing the situation, was like, nah, like it's cool, it's fucked up. Like I feel like that matters, that like in his personality
Mm-hmm.
to be a little bit laid back, but also know like still acknowledge certain stuff. He's not gonna like brush it under the rug or anything. I feel like it's more of a respectful friendship too, because he is a little older. But she, I mean, I don't know. It's kind of like, like, I don't know, boys' friendship, even though she's a girl, but I feel like she still has that masculine vibe.
Yes.
So it shows off with him versus like with Dina, you see a little bit more of her. She's still a little bit mask around her, but she's still a little bit more softer and feminine. Like she's very like, more back in her shell versus with
Mm-hmm.
him, she's more like, all right, like,
Yeah, like almost like two guys kind of looking around. Like even with
mm-hmm,
her language, with everybody else, it's a harsher language. Like she's dropping F bombs and everything like that.
yeah.
And so as they're making their way through, basically you get introduced to Tommy again. And a lot of times with Tommy, who is Joel's brother, Tommy
Mm-hmm.
was like a secondary Easter egg character in the first season. Now he's what looks like is going to be a major character moving on in the second season.
Yeah.
And his wife gets an apology out of the guy who kind of goes at it with Joel.
Mm-hmm.
And you can see her attitude where he's like, I made you a sandwich. I'm sorry. I was drinking a little bit. And I love that energy. And I'm not gonna say masculine energy. Like you said before, a woman can stand up for herself. And she
Mm-hmm.
stands up for herself and she's like, oh, that's really cool of you to be drunk and say some shit. Like, don't come with the drunk stuff. You said what you said because that's how you felt. And
Yeah,
so
like,
he's like, you're right. Would you have taken the apology or would you just
no.
walked off and said, I'll take the
I'm
sandwich, fuck it?
I'm glad she stood on business. She took the sandwich, and it's not, she didn't not disrespect him at all. Like, she didn't
Mm-hmm.
call him by his name. If anything, she just like, you shouldn't have said, like, because he's like, oh, I shouldn't have said it. And I don't know if he said it or she said it. I think she said it, and then he repeated it when she was like, oh, you shouldn't have thought it.
Mm-hmm. And he
Like,
said, I shouldn't have
yeah, I
said
shouldn't
anything. I
have it.
shouldn't have. And that was, I felt like that was also kind of conversation to the viewer. Like, if you feel the way you feel in today's time,
Mm-hmm.
shut the fuck up and go make a sandwich.
Yeah,
Like,
like, keep
go
your
make a
comments to
sandwich.
yourself.
Yeah. So after that, and while that's happening, the city, this little town, this little settlement is starting to gear up. They got a plan. They're like, we don't know how many, zombies
Something
are
was
out there. We'll just call
coming.
them zombies. Yeah, something's coming. We're realizing that they're taking their dead and covering themselves so they can stay warm.
Mm-hmm.
And so we don't know how many with the blizzard that's outside. And so Tommy's getting everybody together and say, hey, look, this is going to be wild. I hope it's not going to be wild, but it is what it is. Now, when they transition back to Abby, Abby is making her way downtown. She's supposed to be watching guard and just seeing what's going on, and she notices. And again, they do the same thing with the hair and the eyes and the winter. They're showing you that it's cold, but she's starting to notice that, hey, look, I see some horses. I see some. And so she ends up busting her ass trying to get down the side of this fucking mountain.
Oh my
Now, is that
gosh.
determination or is that stupidity for Abby?
I mean, it's a mix of both, but for me, I was just like, girl, it's not that serious. Like you saw them catch them another day. Like it's not like the way she was going so hard. I was like,
Mhm.
I do not like her already. Like she's doing the most right now. I'm like, and then also I feel like because I knew it's not gonna end well. I'm like, please no, just. I was like, no, just keep going the other way.
Just
Like,
slow
don't
down,
turn
get stuck
around.
in the snow. Yeah.
Like, hopefully, I was like, oh, I hope they get her. Like, maybe she shouldn't have done that in the first place.
Okay, so is she's so high strung? At some point, what comes in that's smooth and it calms everyone down, apparently, is when they get the call to come back because the blizzard's too strong, but they can't get the call. So Joel doesn't get the call with his partner and Dina, and then Ellie doesn't get the call with her partner, and they end up taking
Hmm.
off a detour and they go to a special location, and they're
Oh
like, "Yes,
yeah.
this is a 7-Eleven with some
Hmm.
good in it."
That good,
What
good.
was your thoughts when they sit there and you're looking around and she's like, "Is this
Hmm. Honestly, that was funny, but I mean, if you think about it, like they show it a little bit earlier, she having weed or somebody having
mhm,
weed.
mhm,
So I'm
mhm.
like, we would have had to see it at some point where it was coming from. Um, I mean, it was a nice little thing. I was like, okay, a little spot. Okay, see
Little
them.
dispensary,
Right, a little
yeah."
dispensary. He's like, don't blow my spot up. Like, just chill.
But
So again,
she's
it's
acting
more
like a
like that.
jit. She's acting like a jit, like, I'm gonna tell everybody, or I'm gonna take this, and I'm gonna take this.
Right,
And
she
to
was
her,
doing
it's
too
like
much.
Christmas.
But I mean, also like you got to put yourself in that situation with her, like not, she is 19 at this age, right? Like at right
Hmm.
now. So
Hmm.
it's been how many years? What, about 10 years since everything happened? Like, or maybe was it 10 years? I don't know. You
I,
played the game, so you know a little bit more.
I, I don't know if it was 10 years. I think when it
Or
happened, she was
5.
19. She was 19, so now she's whatever age she is now. So let me know in the comments
Um,
the time span, but I can't remember the
but
time
it's been a
span.
few
But
years.
mhm,
So I feel like, you miss out a little bit of your childhood going through this whole apocalypse, and then seeing that, it's like, oh wow, you got a little bit, but now you see the whole, like, it's like going to the dispensary for the first time. It's like being a kid in the candy shop, her inner child came out. She's still a child, and
mhm.
like she's young adult, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, no, and that's true. And it kind of it's also interesting because as laid back as that is, it sets up the second act. Okay. So as we make our way in the second act, subscribe, like, follow, all that stuff. The second act, basically, Abby is now hunting her prey. She has moved closer to the two horses that are making it through. You can see her, like, the excitement in her, like the same way that Ellie was excited about just goofing off and getting some weed. Um, Basically, Abby is like, I'm going to get this. I'm gonna get these, and you don't know what her sights are on. You know Joelle, but you don't know the other situations. You don't know what she's about and what the level she's gonna go through. And it's interesting because her hate and everything fuels something even bigger because she stepped on a hive of frozen zombies who come up from the ground, clickers. They come from the ground, and now she's running for her life in this. Now, did you want her to slip and trip, and then the credits roll and be like, "Hey, it's not gonna happen. Don't worry about it. Ain't gonna happen. Everybody's gonna live."
Yeah, I was hoping, but I knew it wasn't gonna happen. But I
But
was hoping.
what did you think about that scene, that whole transition where she goes up the ladder and there's the fence and everything that's going on, and you're watching literally one of the clickers. I don't know if you saw the detail, but
Hmm.
one of the clickers is trying to put their hand through the gate just to get her, and they're splitting their hand. The gate is
Yes.
going through because they're like, no fucks given, Walking Dead style. What
Hmm.
was your idea or feels on that?
For me, I feel like she needed to feel that sense of urgency and desperation. Like this is really like you look at the situation you're in for trying to do this avenging,
Hmm.
and it is fueling her more because I mean, if I was in that situation, I'm dealing with this, I'm gonna be mad. Like I'm going through all this shit. Now he's gonna get it, So I get it, but also it's like on the flip side, I'm also gonna be like, damn, like, is it really worth almost dying? Like this horde of clickers are trying to get me. Like literally, they're pressing down on her on the fence. Like, is it really worth it? And then
Hmm.
one actually escaped and was chasing her like outside too. So it's like part of me is like, please get her. Like please.
Somebody please get this, please.
Yeah. I was kind of hoping they would have actually bit her and she would have maybe tried to hide it.
Hmm.
And then, that would have been interesting. Just so
See, and
she
then
can.
see, for me, like playing the video game, that's exactly how it happened. Like when I say the level of detail, and this is what I mean for franchises like The Division or Destiny or God of War, we're looking for, as gamers, we know how good the story is. Just put the
Hmm.
same story in front of people like you that haven't played the game, because the game was, you had to mash buttons to lift the garage or
Hmm.
to push the gate back. And so
Yeah.
when those tight spaces, that was literally from the game, screen by
Hmm.
screen. So when she comes out of that, it's Joel who saves her by taking a clicker out with a headshot.
Hmm.
And in that moment where this gift just falls on her, this serendipity tragically just falls upon her, and the person she's hunting is her savior now. The person that she's been for, maybe 10 plus years, 7 plus years, that she's been visualizing, I'm going to kill this person. I don't know how, but I'm going to do it. Saves their life. And it gets to a point where she's almost like out of breath because of what happened, but it's almost like she's just hit with the reality of, oh my gosh, this person's right here in front of me. The Easter
Hmm.
Bunny's real. Santa Claus is real.
Hmm.
So in that moment, like, what was your feels on what she's kind of dealing with? That rush that just finished, and here comes her new savior now.
Like, I really hope that kind of resonated with her, like, in the sense of, like, damn, this guy really just saved my life. This is the guy I'm trying to kill. Like, maybe, and I feel like there was a moment where, excuse me, she was even maybe questioning, like, should I maybe continue? Like, I did notice that maybe a couple times where she, like, you should look at him like, he saved me. Like, should I really, is he really that bad? And I guess
Hmm.
seeing him interact with Dina too, and seeing how he was caring for her, you know, I feel like she also noticed that, took note of that, was like, Like, I feel like, maybe reminded her dad. I feel like I hoped in that moment it would have given her some mercy and maybe not done what she was gonna do.
Well,
Um,
I think it's interesting that you said dad, because when you say dad, as you're getting to the thick, really the balls are starting moving, like everything's moving fast, and I'm loving the pacing of this episode. And Joel and Ellie have this fight the night before where
mhm,
he's trying to stand up as a dad, and it's almost like, you're not my dad, like kind of like it without words, like the whole town is like, you're not talking, to the point that in the morning they don't even get on the same path to go do their watches, their morning
as they were
runs.
supposed to.
Exactly, which could have changed everything, against serendipity of how everything worked out. And now she's got this savior who's not her dad, who took out the person that she cared about. And the radios finally get boosted where the signal comes up just to give enough to say, hey, I know you guys are at the weed shop, you're chilling, dispensary. don't shut us down, YouTube. But if they're sitting there, he hears that they're stranded or that they're still out there and they haven't came back, they haven't radio back, and she immediately grabs her bag and just takes off. Like that's her dad, that's the person she
That is
fucks
her
with, you
dad.
know. And so you're watching this parallel, like, yeah, we had a big fight, but screw it, I'm
Mm-hmm.
gonna do it. And she was the one taking off, jumping on the horse, saying, "Hey, you got 30 minutes to storm. You know where I'm gonna be at. I'm gonna go find them." I thought that was interesting because they showed that and they went back and forth with the city getting ready. So you have these two that are sitting there riding. You're like, something's gonna happen to somebody. I just don't know
Mm-hmm.
who it's gonna happen to.
Yeah.
Um, at this point, now the full zombie run is behind her. It's like everybody's coming down that fucking mountain, and I don't even know how she would be able to keep up because I think I would have fucking fell, and it would have been the end for me. I would say that it would be the end for me. Do you think if there's zombies running at you down the mountain out in Colorado or any spot, do you think you no? Do you
No,
just stop and
no.
say take me
No, I
or
mean, I would
do?
try my best to get away. I mean, I would say I give myself a fair fighting chance. I might get away,
Mhm.
but is there going to be a place I can get safely to? Is is the question.
Yeah, I'm more cynical than optimistic in most times. Most situations, I just feel like it's an open field. I'll run as best as I
There
can.
was trees, no?
There was trees, but they did a really good job of making a lot of it where there was openings. And I didn't
Yeah.
look at that as plot holes. I just looked at it as it's way easier for me to visualize them running and watching these large hordes than through the mountains, through the trees
Yeah.
where I'm like, you're gonna trip, you're gonna fall.
Yeah.
They're gonna trip and fall. So you're watching this dynamic, and then there's this dude, he's on the binoculars and he's looking and he's looking, and then the clouds move just enough to see this horde just coming straight at him. And but he just like ring the bell, all this, and I'm like, damn, dude, you don't have a different signal, like well, I don't know. I feel like with the fact that they do it sound, why would you make more fucking noise?
But
You didn't think
wasn't
that was that just
it,
me?
but weren't they, because remember they were chasing Joelle, Dina, and Abby, and then they
Hmm.
just kind of, there was another part of the horde, and then they kind of synced up with them and went the other
Hmm.
way towards Jackson.
Yeah.
Um, was it because remember they were hitting the pipes and the little
Yep.
spores or whatever it's
Yeah.
called, little
Yeah. Yeah.
thingies.
The little
Um,
tunnels or fingers with emotions. I don't know.
yeah, little branches of spores. I don't know. But I guess that signaled over the whole horde over to them like, "Hey, we here."
Yeah, come over here. Maybe they've been watching. So
Hmm.
you get this dramatic kiss from Tommy and his lover, his wife. And in my head, I'm like, they're dead. Now, mind you, I'm forgetting that this shit happened in the game. I'm just living in the moment. I know the
You
characters. I
forgot.
haven't. I did. It's been so long. And at the same time that they're going to war with these clickers, and they've got a setup that looks like some medieval, death battle thing. They're blowing up gasoline and fuels. Like
Hmm.
they've got a system, right? And they haven't been breached yet. They haven't, nothing's happened. And at this point, you look to Joel, who's looking over the whole Jackson spot, and
Hmm.
it's on fire. And he's like, I gotta get there. I gotta help them. And we're running out of time. And the blizzard's here. And she has an opportunity to say, I mean, Abby has an opportunity to say, hey, let's go help them. Or you go help them and thank you for saving me. I go back. And she hesitates. And then she's like, come back to the lodge. Like it hits her like, I got something for you. Come back with me. Like what was your thought on that? Where she hesitates, where it looks like it's
I
like,
don't
well,
know why
we
he
stay here, we do
went.
this.
He should have not went.
But
Like I
how would he
understand because
know?
they were in the cold. Like they really. In that scene, like because it's a video game, so I'm here thinking like, how they have like health levels,
Mhm.
and they're in the cold, so I'm assuming there's like a meter of how cold you are until it runs out. That's how I'm thinking in my
No,
head
I
and how I'm picturing it.
if I can remember the game, this is one of the games where they don't give you a HUD, an interactive screen to look at to be like your health.
Okay.
You have to sense the body of the character. So when you're starting to get messed up, the screen gets covered in
Oh,
blood,
okay.
smears of blood, and so you have to step back for a bit and let the screen clear. And if you go to some place that's too cold, the same thing will happen. The screen kind of gets icy, and
Okay,
you need to
okay.
turn your ass back around because the character won't move. So I think for the most part, if I remember, that's kind of how they let you know if you're fucked up or
Mm-hmm.
not.
Okay, fair enough. So some type of something to gauge the
Mm-hmm.
characters. There has to, especially when you're in these type of video games, you need some type of gauge for that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what my head was like, just picturing, because it's like, okay, should we go? And you know, when they give you like a dilemma, do you go help, risk getting frozen, or do you go back to safety? And then it's like, obviously, go back to safety, but it's like,
It's
it's
not
not
safety.
safe.
It's not safe for you.
Right.
It's not
And
safe
he's
for
like, oh, let's
you.
just go. And I'm like, why would you just, for me, it's like, and I feel like that also shows Joel's to like personality that he's willing to go with a stranger for help versus like, it shows a little bit that he's not as selfish as she probably is thinking he is. Because if
Oh yeah,
not,
100%.
he would have just left her like, all right, he could have really just left her and went back at any given point in time, any point, and he didn't.
Because
And he
chances
died for
are
it.
he wasn't even in danger. He probably ran to her to save her from the danger that
Literally.
she was in.
And that's what it
So,
was, yeah.
so yeah, I think we know the character to be not a perfect character. We saw that with the first season.
Mm-hmm.
It's an individual that's flawed, that was politically trying to pick exactly where he wanted to be and what he was going to do to this little girl. Like, hey, I'm gonna transfer her like she's cattle, and then he has a change of heart. He realizes some things to do and he does some things differently, and that's what we see in this episode.
Mm-hmm.
And at this point now, you got the full on battle. I mean, it is literally they're storming the walls, and you get this brand new character, which I can't remember, but I do remember in the game. Now, on the PlayStation game, how it was, especially like early on, it's like the clickers would be there in your face. And
Mm-hmm.
if you move the controller, they knew where you were. They would be right there in front of the screen and they would look at you and you just can't move. And sometimes it would just go, ah, it would just scream. And if you
Mm-hmm.
jumped, which I did to my son, I didn't tell him the level and he was just holding it. He was like a jit. And it was like, I didn't tell him anything. I'm like, don't move. And the shit scared him. And then it ate him because he moved. There's
Oh
one,
man.
there's one character that we get introduced to. And this one is the big berserker style, big, and for the video game, this character moves slow, was damn near indestructible, and has a hard shell. So you had to chip off pieces and find the weak spots to drop them. So it was really cool to see this and see the two lovers, husband and wife, break up all over the city. And that dramatic moment where he's like, I got the flamethrowers, it almost looks like Ghostbusters. And then two or three of the dudes just fucking dip.
They just left him. I'm like, you guys could have did so much damage if you just would have. And then the third guy dipped too. It was four
And
of
the
them.
and it's wild because like at some point when everything's fine, fast forward and everybody, some people survive this, right?
Yeah.
What if those two dudes survive and they're at breakfast the next morning? Hey, sorry about that, Tommy, man. I just got a little scared, Tommy, and I just was in a pickle and I ran.
At that point, I'm putting with the children and the women and the children. Just
Oh,
go
you're
protect
nicer than
them.
me. No, he's got to go. They both, all
Oh,
of
they
them
gotta
got to
go.
step. They've been banished. They've been banned. Like I need soldiers.
They would do
And y'all took off.
patrols. I would just let
No,
them do
fuck a patrol.
patrols.
No,
Because they're gonna just
no.
die out
I'll
there
put
eventually.
a bunch of cans on their neck, and tell them go. Good luck, buddy. Just let them go walk out in the wilderness.
I don't feel like
Give them
those
a
people
sandwich.
survive though. There's no way.
Well, if I had to base my survival and all of us on those three or four individuals, when motherfuckers were just getting attacked, like there was times where they were running. It was really cool cutscenes. They're running, and as soon as
Mm-hmm.
they turn the corner, they're like somebody will come in for the cameras for just a second. Go this way, and as soon as the star turned that way, they got ate. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
damn, you didn't even have a second.
Yeah.
You didn't have a second. So you have this scene where he's with the. It's
You're
true.
picturing yourself in that moment like, damn, I can't even breathe.
Yeah, because you're sitting there like, had I not told her directions, I might have lived. But I started to be a good person. To be Joel, I tried to be a good person, and I died. So there's a scene where he's using a flamethrower in a dead end. What was your thought process there? They kept showing the meter.
For me, he first of all,
First of all,
he
Tommy.
was so far. I get it. You had to give yourself some distance from the berserker,
Mhm.
but he
Well, he
was
was
like
doing it for
just
his boo. He
he
was doing
was
it for his
he
boo.
was just gassing on the flamethrower, and he wasn't even like close to him to hit him. I mean, you're just wasting it at this point. But I thought it was gonna get. I was like, I hope it's gonna die. But also, in my head, if they were using the dead bodies during the cold, it's still cold, and there's a blizzard also
Hmm.
to keep themselves warm. Is that for them not to die too? So how long would they have realistically lasted in this blizzard without just, just dying?
We That's the thing, we don't know. We don't know, and we're not put in a situation to know. But
True.
I thought it was cool. It was epic to watch these two lovers get back together, as they prove to defend their home turf. And the moment we're like relieved, we're like, yes, we did it. We did it. Everything's good. Then it cuts right back to Joel and Abby at the lodge, and they're there. And it's, we know what you're there for. Like normally sometimes, your boo will say, we're here, and you're like, what are we here for? And I'll tell my wife, you know why we're here. Like, and that's a good mood. This wasn't. Everybody, gamer or no gamer, they knew what was going on. Um, and I think Dina was the first one to kind of get a vibe that something was off,
Hmm.
because she's looking at the tags of the affiliates. She's
Hmm.
looking at the bruises and the tattoos, and she's like, and you don't know if she's cold or if she's terrified of what did
Yeah.
we just fucking walk into. And before she can say anything, gun to her head and shit's going down. So your perspective, now that Abby's revealed herself as, I'm the real fucking not victim, I'm the villain, give or take your perspective.
Hmm.
What's going through your mind?
I could not breathe for the rest of the episode at that point because when the moment she's like, okay, actually, I was like, whoa, whatever she said, I was like, no. And Joel's just like, what? What's going on? At that point, he sees Dina being held at gunpoint. He doesn't want anything to happen to her. And, you know, I just, it was just tough. It was her little monologue was very like, uh, but also she needed to get out and say what she needed to say.
No, she didn't.
She knows she didn't. She really. Part of me,
Okay,
I
so
kind of
okay.
wish
Before we
he
get in,
explained
well,
himself. Okay, okay, go.
okay. So we're gonna go on that. That's like one of the meat. Like, cause now we're in the third act. We've been really
Hmm.
in the third act. The fight is over, and now the internal fight with Abby and Joel is happening, and Ellie is racing to get there to save her
Oh,
dad
yeah.
and the journeys that she's been on. And Dina is being put to sleep. So Dina's being put to sleep. At this point, I'm standing up. Mind you, I know what the fuck is gonna happen, but I'm standing. I'm pacing in my office like, oh and 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 the look on Joel was his hands up. Like, he's just. I get it. They told him not to put it down, but some people
Hmm.
just, they look like, hey, it's a stick up. He looked like, I don't know what's happening here.
Yeah.
Like, why are you doing this? Like, what's going on? And then you had some of the people like, all right, come on, like, are we really gonna do this? If we're gonna do this, can we get this over with? What are we doing with Dina? I thought, because she goes, well, we might kill her. And
Hmm.
like, yo, we didn't talk about that shit. So what did you think about her flunkies that were with her supporting her?
I feel like it just shows the group is flawed. Like, I feel like it's kind of like having that false leader
Mm-hmm.
where you have that leader that wants to be the leader so bad, but they're not really best for the group. And I feel like she's very selfish. Like, honestly, in a perfect world, Joel would have brought them back. The Jackson still survived. They had some damages, some people might have died, but they survived. They could have been brought back. They could have helped save some people. Probably would have been a little better. And, you know, the group would have had a better outcome too, versus like now what? Now you have now you're gonna have Tommy and Ellie on your ass, but I feel like they never really they don't want to harm people anymore. At that point, like it's a world full of clickers and other, berserkers and stuff. Like,
Hmm.
I feel like a lot of them don't want to, like, they want to support her and what she's doing, but also kind of questioning the lengths that she's willing to go to.
Okay, so I'll say this, like when we start talking about the size of Abby, where
Hmm.
she was muscular in
Hmm.
the video game versus here, this is where I feel like, and don't get me wrong, a non-muscular woman can be strong and heroic and be a leader. I'm not saying that.
Hmm.
I feel like with a lot of gamers, I'm gonna get canceled for this. Some gamers have one brain cell. So to them, it was the visualization of having a woman with muscles made some men say, "Oh, she could be a leader because she has muscles. That's why they listen to her." And that's how they kind of put it together. So now when you
Hmm.
see this actor who doesn't have it, who's doing a great job acting, they're
Hmm.
just like not convinced. Like, why is she in charge? Why is she telling people what to do? The other Abby, muscular Abby that was actually portrayed from an actual bodybuilder. That Abby is like, oh, I can get back behind that. I can understand why she's going to tell me back the fuck off.
Yeah, she's gonna beat my
The
ass.
the interesting thing about the monologue, and I'm going to ask you, what do you feel about the monologue? Is the monologue? I could be wrong. There's two significant things that the video game does differently from the actual episode. Tommy's there. Tommy is a main character much sooner than what this show does. The show makes him a
Mm.
main character now,
Mm.
but Tommy was always a main character the moment him and Joel met each other, seeing each other. There's a few other rendezvous points, but point blank, when you saw them,
Reunite
yeah, Tommy's here when all this shit goes down.
instead of Dina.
Um, Yeah, I believe something like that. I believe if not
Okay.
all three of them, but I believe Tommy was there in that room. Let me know in the comments if he was or not. The
Okay.
other thing about it was there was no monologue. So I'm gonna let you speak on the monologue, but the monologue that she says, "I've been waiting for this," and they do the flashback. The thing as a gamer was you didn't know Abby's side. That's what made her more villainous. Because what happened was
Mm.
you see her commit this act with no words, with really no words. And so you're sitting there with whatever happens after. Like, why would this person do this to the person I've been playing 20 plus hours as a video game with Joel? Why would this person do this to my guy?
Mm.
And that's what you felt. So I just thought it was an interesting thing. And I felt like they did it to make her seem more sympathetic. Like, oh, revenge. Like you kept saying revenge. You could understand revenge. You might not say it's right, but you could understand it versus if it would have went down like the game does it,
Mm.
you hate this person online, you hate this person. They even went as far as when the episode was finished, they posted on IG them in the winter on set saying, "This my girl, this my dad, like we're good, we're real people, don't come for us."
He's
Like, because
not dead,
and
I
that was,
promise.
yeah, and that's big on him or someone to say, "Hey,
Yeah.
y'all need to take this picture because they gonna go for her." Like
Yeah.
they go for us sometimes in the comments, give or take how we feel about stuff, whether Manny or me, whatever. But what did you think about the monologue? Now that I told you that the monologue was never there, and the one of the most impactful moments is you don't know why she did what she did. You learn it later, but you don't know
Hmm.
it now.
I mean, I feel like for plot advancement, because if they learn it from what I've heard about the game, supposedly from I don't know if this is true, you played it, so you let me know. But supposedly, like in the video game, once this happens, like like how you said, there's no monologue. I didn't know there was no monologue, but I guess once it happens, you start playing as Abby, and I guess that's when you learn
Hmm.
after the
There's
fact.
times where yeah, you switch with characters throughout the series in
Okay,
different parts of their life, and so yes, you do play with Abby, and
but
while
you're
playing with
learning.
Abby, then you learn the story, and you're
Okay.
able to connect to what Joelle did, and that's what you're
Mm.
piecing almost three sides of the story.
So I feel like for plot advancement, they're not gonna show all of that in the backstory. It's gonna, at that point, it's probably like a spin-off. We're not gonna. They can make into a whole series if they really want to, or just one, or one season of something. But just to not, I guess, there's more that they want to show us. That's not so much focus on Abby herself. Maybe we might get some glimpses of her throughout the season. And of course, she is like the main villain now,
Hmm.
or the main problem of the season. So I feel like we really needed to get a little bit for the audience, especially for a lot of the viewers like me who didn't play the game. I guess we needed to get a little bit of the story. So we needed that from her monologue. But her
Okay.
monologue, I feel like, also was kind of like, I don't know. It was just like I feel like it did nothing for Joel. It did nothing for us too. He was just like, get over with it. Like, shut up already.
I mean, I did. There was a telling part where she talks about the situation with her dad and her
Yeah.
dad taking that shot and him being honest and saying, "Hey, look, I was there in Utah. I know exactly what you're talking about."
Mhm.
You can see him tremble. Now
Mhm.
the fireplace has been on. They're inside. They haven't been outside in a bit. This is his tremble because of fear, because of panic, because he knows what's about to happen. And you don't
Mhm.
really see that with him. You've seen moments where he's been scared, but there's always been a scared person who's taking advantage of the situation to protect himself and the people around, not
Yeah.
him literally trembling, sitting there saying, I'm at the mercy of this person who is much smaller than me. I'm at the
Mhm.
mercy of the person where I have military training, basically, and I've been living on my own and defending myself well past my 50s. And this is how it's about to go out. I thought that I did a while ago was taken care of, and I felt like it made viewers. It even made me say, "Let Joel talk. Let him say his side."
I was thinking the same thing. Like, I feel like I was like, maybe he would have not died if he would have just explained it. But then also, part of me thinks that maybe she would have tried to target Ellie in some sick way just because he sees how much he was willing to do all of that to care for Ellie, to save her. So it's like, oh, well, I'm gonna kill her and fuck all you what you did. Some people are just sick like that. I feel like she was sick enough to do what she did. She would have, he. I don't feel like he wanted to risk. I mean, it's her secret too. Like, I feel like he would have had to expose Ellie in a different way also, which he would never want to do. So I feel like he just had to kind of bite the bullet. But he should have said something. He should have said something.
I mean, the only thing I can think of, and this is just me from a dad's perspective, Dad Panther, is he's still a dad, even in that
Yeah.
moment of panic and fear. And what I mean by that is he understands in his fear and his tremor and understand that he may never see his daughter again, metaphorically speaking, but you know what I mean, his daughter again.
Mm,
He has now become the daughter of Abby, and Abby is grieving, and Abby has vengeance in her eyes, and Abby needs closure. And he understands that his life ending is going to give this stepdaughter, closure. So he chooses not to say anything, and he
mm,
chooses to continue to not gaslight her, but add fuel to the fire by saying, if you're going to do it already, skip the fucking monologue. It's almost like a shot at the Easter egg of you never had a monologue. To, if you're going to do it already, do it. Stay in the emotion that you're in, knock this shit out. And it is what it is at this point. Because if he would have done what I can see me doing, and I don't look at it as like a bitch move, I just look at it as like, if you're gonna do what you're gonna do, that's fine. But hear me out. You're doing it because you're protecting your dad. I did it because I was protecting my daughter. Now you may not know what was going on, but your dad was doing experiments on people,
mm.
and he was going to take my daughter away from me. That is why I did it. So it didn't matter that he had a weapon or not. I chose to defend my daughter. and my daughter's alive today, and I can go to sleep at night on that. So do it already. That's just me. Now, that's why I think they didn't give him any words, because even if he said that, I don't think it changes. I think it still makes her the villain, and she's already going to be the villain. So they're just like, hey, do you want to make her a supervillain or do you want to be sympathetic?
See, I thought it was him. Excuse me. You know, he was already having some relationship problems with Ellie. The fight, she didn't want to talk to him. She kept pushing him away. I feel like part of what I agree with what you said. Partly also, like, you know, him seeing Abby's pain and him as a dad, a girl's dad. Like he has a soft spot for girls, like in the sense of like he wants to make sure he cares for that. He he is a girl dad, you know, he lost Sarah in the beginning. And I
Mm-hmm.
feel like every young woman he sees his daughter in them too. So I feel like part of it he accepted his fate, and he also kind of gave up, like seeing that like Ellie was treating him, you know, I wouldn't, badly, kind of didn't want to talk to him. He's like, okay, what's the point? Let me give her what she wants, and maybe I can make somebody, help satisfy somebody if I can't be what I want to be for Ellie. Let me just do this for somebody. And I feel like part of it was just kind of showing him like he just gave up. And but then later on,
The,
because it
the,
changes
re-
too.
the reason why I won't say the give up part, unless I'm mishearing you, I don't think I can only, again, speak from a dad perspective. I don't think dads look at their relationship with their kids, especially their daughters, and look at it and say, they're mad at me. I can kind of give up in a situation. Like the car flipped over and you're sitting there like, man, should I try to breathe? Should I try to live? She's mad at me because I didn't buy her that dress. Yeah, it's over for me. Like I think
Hmm.
he understood being with his daughter as long as he was, and being with his wife, and his experiences in life, to realize to love his child unconditionally. So even though, and I've known so many, especially women,
Hmm.
who had a negative relationship with their father at a certain time period in their life, and then something happened to their dad, and they're like, I didn't get a chance to say I'm sorry. I didn't get a chance to say goodbye. And then a lot of times, the dad would say, or the parents would say, he knows he wasn't looking at it that way. Don't think about that for the rest of your life. So I think that's what Ellie's gonna have to deal with, which is,
Hmm.
this is what I remember doing for how
Hmm.
many episodes, for how many years, being that tough, difficult teenager, and he
Hmm.
was trying to love me. And now you're watching that situation. So now that we went through the monologue and kind of what was there in the game, what wasn't, now you're looking at this gripping scene where Ellie's on the floor and Joel's on the floor, and they're looking at each other, and you see his face jacked up as she's taking a 7 or 9 iron to the gunshot wound on his leg, and they bandage it up so he can stay alive a little bit longer. And now she's just taking it to his face, and he's sitting there just, she's screaming, "Get up!" And they're just looking. That's the cut scene back and forth. That's how the game was. Like
Hmm.
the game has you in the perspective of, what the fuck is going on? Let me get up. Let me do something. Both characters, for hours of gameplay, you were a survivor and you had control. Literally, as the gamer, you had control, and now you don't. Now the creators of the game, the directors of the game, the brilliant staff that did that, was sitting there saying, "No, you're going to watch the story we're going to tell you, and you're going to sit there and deal with it." What was your thought process watching that scene, all the way up until the end, honestly?
Honestly, it was tough. Like, you see him try to get up a little bit for her. Like it's very hard to watch. Like, and just even the final blow to like kind of just end it. Like, I'm like, honestly, she didn't have to do that. Again, you already tortured him enough. He got the message. Like, whatever injuries he had from, you beating him up, if he survived those injuries, then it's his fate to be alive. And if he didn't, then, he didn't. She didn't have to really just, you know, she didn't watch her dad die. He was already dead. So to do that, like, I don't know why she would do that. It's not like she knew their relationship, but she knew, she, like she saw how he interacted and how Dina, like he interacted with Dina and how Ellie was fighting so hard for him. Like, and she still had no type of mercy. Like, I feel like it just shows how cold she is. Like, she really just doesn't give a fuck. And
Hmm.
I feel like it was very hard to watch because she's just like, it's knowing how she was treating him before too, just makes it even harder. Like, she's just like regretting everything. Like, even probably like if she would have gone there sooner,
Hmm.
if she would have went out on the run with him, just like all, and then seeing the montages of the memories, like, of what they experienced too. Like it was very hard to watch. Like I just it why do Pedro loves to get killed off in
He
every
he does, and
movie.
I don't know if he writes that in his contract. He's like, hey, like I just want to be there for the story, which I love movies and shows that do that because it's so tough to watch a movie or show and you see a star or you see a character who's acting well and you're like they're protected because they're a
Hmm.
big brand, they're a big name, they're a big this, they're important, they're the boyfriend, the girlfriend, and
Their
then when
main
they die,
character.
yeah, when they die, the first episode of the first season of the first 15 minutes of the movie, if they're not black, and they die, you're like, you're taken away by it because you're like, the story is bigger than the actor, and that's the thing about this story is that the story is the main focus, not the characters in the story.
Yeah.
And so yes, the show has changed some stuff. They've changed up the disease and how intimate the disease is, and they've changed some of the characters, and they move some stuff around, and they're trying to stretch it a bit, but I think they've done a very good job of making this authentic and keeping it looking the way it is now. As we pull into the closing parts of Act 3 and that moment happens, um, we go into the next scene, which is them going through Jackson and people showing, like, one guy was like, I'm bit right here. And then the camera kind of pans and you see a gun come up for someone else in the city and he shoots him, like as if it's protocol. And he knows it. And he's like, hey, just so they're trying to pick up the pieces and fix stuff. And Abby, at this point, she's with her flunkies and they're walking out off the mountain. Like, we've accomplished this. We can do anything next. And then before that, you even have Ellie's just screaming, like, I'm going to kill you. I'm going to kill you all, each and every one of you. Any anything on that? There's so many emotions that go into it. Like, I'm gonna kill you, I'm gonna kill everyone. Joel just died. The two lovers get back together, they're hugging and kissing, husband and wife. The bad guys rolling off into the sunset, metaphorically speaking.
It was a mix of emotions. I mean, I was happy that, not every I was scared that Jackson was going to get overrun. It was probably going to be maybe like a handful of people. But it didn't do too bad. They had a pretty good protocol they had to follow. I was very pissed that they were just walking off into the sunset. Like you said, they just left. Like, of course, I'm glad they didn't kill Ellie. Ellie still, she has to get her revenge, or try to, but with, I was pissed. Like, I'm like, you're just gonna leave him, and then them, bringing him back to Jackson, dragging him back. Everybody's just so defeated. It's just a heavy scene too. It's just, now it's like, how is Tommy? And then now I'm thinking like, what is Tommy gonna do? How is he gonna, again, because I didn't play it. So I'm like, now what's
Mhm.
gonna happen? Like, she did give little hints as to, where she's from in Seattle, and she's like, oh, you wouldn't last the day in Seattle or whatever. Like, I really hope Ellie comes for her because I
I
get
know, and
it. It
the
needs to
thing the thing
dampen her
about
down.
Seattle was a very rainy, wet, a lot of viney stuff. So the
Oh,
design, the level design of
moist.
the game, yeah, it was very different. It was like you had to do levels through water and underwater and
Mm,
in like rainforest, not rainforest, but like
jungle
the
like.
the same place that the vampires in Twilight go. Apparently, you had to do that kind of. And so it's a different terrain. It's an interesting story that they can tell. There's plenty that they can tell.
Hmm.
I just don't know if they start making up their own. So um are you going to continue to watch the season, or this is it
Yeah.
for you? You just want to.
No, I'll continue to watch. I'm not gonna stop watching it. I gotta see what's gonna happen.
Okay, so you want Abby to get her revenge and continue? Do you want Ellie to get her revenge, or
I don't give
you
a
hoping they
fuck
hug it out
about
over some
Abby
Starbucks?
already did what she needed to do. What else does she need to do? Now Ellie needs to go get her. She need to go get her and do
Okay.
what she needs to do.
Okay. Well. With that being said, that is the end of the episode. We spent over an hour. It's one of the longest episodes. We don't do many like this, but this is a reaction episode, and I think you can let us know in the comments how we do. Going through the acts, we try to do 1, 2, and 3, and grab the topics that meant something to us that stood out. If there's anything we missed, put in the comments, and we'll continue the conversation there. Again, you could have been anywhere in the world, and you chose to be here. Until next time. Kalika,